So my question to you, even before you start writing, you hear the word Shakespeare. What is the first thing that comes to your mind? Use your hands. Start us off.
Plays.
Plays. What else?
Like not kind of like a story.
Stories. What else?
Did he make Romeo and Juliet?
Romeo and Juliet. What else comes to mind? You hear his name. I want to hear from different people. So I have to go to the spinning thingy. Okay, there you go.
Quotes.
Quotes. Awesome. Shamar, your hand went up again.
Tragedy.
Tragedies.
Old.
Old. All right. Why do you think this is the case?
Because he's old.
Because he is old. So old that he's dead, right? Also, why else? Why is it that most people don't go, who?
Because a lot of people know him.
A lot of people know him. He's famous, right? So whether you like him or not, you at least know his name and have heard of him. Why do you think so many people cringe? So many teenagers roll their eyes when they hear they're about to read Shakespeare.
I think it's gonna be old.
They think it's going to be old and boring, right? Y'all have something different than that? Okay, go on, 1 and 2.
Because of Old English that they use.
The Old English, right? The Elizabethan language. So it's like, how can we understand that? It's 2018. Absolutely.
And sometimes the stories might be long a little bit.
And the length of it, right? So what I want you to understand, we are going to read some Shakespeare, but I don't want you to get intimidated. You actually might be a little bit more familiar with Shakespeare than you think. Raise your hand if you've heard of the movie Lion King. Do you know that that was based off of Shakespeare's play Hamlet?
No.
Exactly. See, you watching a cartoon, you don't even realize that's Shakespeare right there. What about 10 Things I Hate About You? Okay, usually it's only like one student that knows this. What about Deliver Us from Eva? Okay, I have to watch some more recent movies. But that's also based on Shakespeare's play, The Taming of the Shrew. What about She's the Man? Okay, thank you. At least some of y'all are watching some of the same things. That's based off of Twelfth Night. And then Warm Bodies, or the cartoon Romeo and Juliet. Of course, Romeo and Juliet, right? So believe it or not, you've actually been familiar with some of what Shakespeare has to offer. So we're actually going to tackle something that Shakespeare does, and that is read one of his poems. Now, he writes a specific kind of poem, and it's called a sonnet. Shakespeare is not the only person who writes a sonnet, right? But he is really known for his sonnets and the structure of his sonnets, as well as the fact that a lot of his sonnets dealt with love. So for those of you who were asking me, Miss Stone, are you okay? Because the first few stories we read all had to deal with death. We're moving from that to love, all right? Can I have a volunteer read today's learning objective?
Okay. SWBAT, investigate the structure and use of language and poetry to identify the theme. By creating their own poetry, mimicking the ideas, structure, and verbal irony,
Represented, you're right.
represent in the model text.
Awesome. All right, so just a few quick notes for you. It looks like a lot, but it's just in really super large font. Here's the thing. When you write a specific kind of poetry, remember you're copying everything that is in yellow. In this case, it's going to be everything. When you're writing a specific type of poem, usually it has certain rules. So the sonnet has these three, it's mainly the first 3 rules that we're going to look at today and use it to kind of interpret what he has to say. Rule number 1, it has to have 14 lines. Don't write a poem called a sonnet and has 16. Nobody's going to believe you, all right? It has to have 14. 3 quatrains, 1 couplet. If you were to take a wild guess, how many lines form a quatrain? 4. Oh, we got some smart people. All right, 4. So the first 3 sections are made up of 4 lines. And then the last section is made up of how many lines? 2. Couplet. Couple. 2. As if that wasn't enough of a rule, they're like, let's make it a little bit more challenging. 10 syllables per line. Again, 10 syllables, not 10 words. Those are 2 different things. 10 syllables. And then, just to challenge you and get on your nerves, a rhyme scheme. All right? The rhyme scheme goes A, B, A, B, C, D, C, D, E, F, E, F, G, G. It might sound confusing right now, but you're going to see it's very easy to catch on to. So I'll give you about 1 more minute to finish your notes. Again, if I change the slide and you don't have it, you can look at a partner's paper. It looks like most of you have it. 10 more seconds. All right, so this is what everyone should have in front of them, Sonnet 130. The thing with Shakespeare sonnets, they're numbered. The title is sometimes the first line, but we can stick with the number. Before we read it, I want you to make sure that your teacher wasn't lying to you, and you're going to make sure that what's in front of you is in fact a sonnet. Can somebody read me the first rule to Shakespearean sonnet? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. That rule checks. 10 syllables per line. We're not doing that for the whole poem. We're going to do the first line, okay? My mistress's eyes are nothing like the sun. My mistress's eyes are nothing like the sun. Somebody count that. Is it 10?
Yeah.
Yes.
10 syllables. 2 rules. I think we have one more. What's that?
Yes. Rhyme scheme.
All right, this is where it gets tricky. A, B, A, B. The 2 A's have to rhyme, the 2 B's have to rhyme. Does sun rhyme with done?
Yes.
Does red rhyme with head?
Yes.
All right, what about the next one? Someone walk me through. In the second oh, that's why I didn't do. Sorry. We said how many quatrains?
3.
3 quatrains. Quatrain is 4 lines. And the last one is?
2.
All right, so that checks. And then you started walking us through, what's the next one?
White, delight.
So we have A, B, A, B. The next rhyme scheme, C, D, C, D. You got it. Who wants to do quatrain 3? E, F, E, F, quickly. And again, what I'm doing on the board, you should do where? On your paper. Have it in front of you. You got it. And that would be E, you got it. Excellent. And then the last one, last but not least, in our couplet, we have
GG.
GG. Rare and compare. So looking at your rules, is this in fact a sonnet?
Yes.
All right. I'll give you 30 seconds to finish setting up your paper, and then we're going to go ahead and read and unpack it. Thumbs up, you're good to go. Ready to move on? Any questions, comments, or concerns about just the structure of the sonnet and the rules? It's good? Okay. All right. I'm glad that's understandable because now we have to read it and make sure I know and make sure we truly understand it. So I'm going to read it the first time just so that you can follow along and listen to the fluency. And then we're going to go back and take a closer look at quatrain 1 and annotate it. So you can either look on the board and read along or look on the paper in front of you. Sonnet 130 by William Shakespeare. My mistress's eyes are nothing like the sun. Coral is far more red than her lips red. If snow be white, why, then her breasts are done. And we looked at the images first and learned how to read those images and look at those details. We did what I read or what I read plus what I know equals my inference, right? So we're just going to look first at what Shakespeare actually has on the paper. What words stands out? What phrases stand out? What do we know based on what he writes? And so a lot of things can stand out, right? Different readers will see different things. So just to model for you, for me, the first thing is my mistress. Because right away, I know the subject is his woman. So I'm like, oh, you're writing a poem about your girl. That's cute. All right. People don't do that. People don't do that. All right. Again, what I annotate on the board, you should
Write down.
annotate on your paper. All right, so he does a lot of things. You don't have to underline everything. We're not coloring the paper. We're just pulling out key words and phrases. So for me, what stood out for whatever reason, when he says, if snow be white, her breasts are done, and then black wires grow on her head. Because on this side, again, what I know or what I read is that he is describing her what? Her looks. I'm like, you're writing a poem about your boo. So you're gonna first start describing her looks. But now I'm coming over to the next side. So this is what we read, facts, details. Now we're going to combine it with some prior knowledge. I know that if my boo is writing a poem about me and describing my looks, you better make me sound wonderful, all right? Give me compliments. And he starts and he says, if snow be white, then her breasts are done. When is snow white? When it first falls or when people have been walking on it? When it first falls, right? It's new, it's perfect, but her chest is done. What can we infer about the meaning of this word? Dingy. Dingy and dull. We're already on the right track. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Then line 4. If hairs be wires, we're already starting off wrong. Black wires grow on her head. How is he describing her hair?
Like,
You said what? Stiff. You said what?
a little static.
A little static, right? It's not a Pantene Pro V commercial. That's not what's going on with her head. So right away, again, what you know and what you see would be those words and key phrases that stand out to you. And then come over here and say, well, what do I know? My background knowledge is if you're writing about perhaps your woman, your boo, then you're going to talk about and describe her physical looks. But these descriptions are positive, negative, or neutral? Negative. Very negative. Pause. Questions?
Why negative?
That's what I want to know, Shakespeare. Why negative?
If I was writing a poem about somebody, like, if I was to write a poem about somebody, I want to make sure that they good looking thing that's on earth.
Listen, if you want to keep them, right? So let's go ahead and see like how he develops this idea, all right? You are going to work with, now I grouped you, 3-3. If somebody's missing at your table, that's fine. You're going to work with your group, and I want you to go ahead and read through each quatrain, and I want you to do the same thing. I want you as a group to reread that section together and to say, okay, now what word sticks out for you? What phrase sticks out for you? What's happening in that phrase? And then what do we know in terms of how he continues to write this poem?
The next one?
The next 2 quatrains, and if you finish early, go ahead and do the couplet.
Okay.
All right? So I'll give you about 7 or so minutes.
And I see some perfume there, there's more delight in her breath that